Welcome, everybody. We're going to go through the agenda in order, and I see a lot of people here, so I'll just let you know the Avalon Road is first, then Salem Street, then Small Lane. So you can plan for that. So I'll call this meeting to order, and the first case is number 2303, 35 Avalon Road. I'll just read the notice. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing in the Select Board's meeting room at Reading Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass. On Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 7 p.m. on the application of Nicole Semenza pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 9, for a special permit under Reading zoning bylaw sections 4.5, 5.3.2, and 5.4.7, as may be determined by the zoning board, to construct a single-story addition with an accessory apartment on the property located at 35 Avalon Road, Assessors Map 6, Lot 62, in Reading, Massachusetts. Is somebody going to be speaking on this? Okay. Anybody who's going to be speaking on this, could you please raise your right hand? Just looking for my.
Do you want to do it real call?
No, I'm in, but I just can't find the, it's my problem. Where am I? I had everything else but that. Well, do you, swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Could you just state your name, please?
Sure. My name is Ernest DeMayo. I'm the owner of Tectonics Architects in Salem. We're the architects for the project. As you see before you, we're proposing to add a single-story accessory apartment to the existing home. The apartment is set back on the property towards the north side of the property. The addition, as we've laid out, conforms to all required zoning setback and side yard requirements, and obviously, given the height of the existing house, we're not encroaching on any height limitations. So from a pure zoning point of view, we comply with the existing current ordinance. The existing home has approximately 2,282 square feet. So by the ordinance, our proposed addition of 752 square feet is less than 33% of the existing floor area. And so we comply with that requirement. The project also includes additions to the main house on the first floor and second floor, but those additions were not factored into our square footage calculations for the accessory apartment. So we're just basing that on the existing home and not the additional area we hope to add to the existing home.
Okay.
And I did have probably a couple of things that I'd like to give to the board just for not so much clarification, but just a little bit of help. One of them is a drawing that we already submitted, I've got 2 copies here. And the other 2 are the 2 larger photographs. First one being a survey with a shaded in area, and what that mean?
Is this the same as
That's
was in the application packet? Okay,
It's that one,
Just
only
one.
with a little yellow added
Yep.
to it.
okay.
And the other 2 are photos that were actually in the packet, but just blown up a little larger, that I wanted to highlight a couple of things.
Okay.
I suppose if there are any questions or comments, maybe that's the best place to start, unless you like me to go further.
Well, what is highlighted here? What did you highlight that?
So one of the issues that I think is kind of a gray area in some extent, and to some degree, something that we're asking for consideration, is the location of the door to the addition and how that is seen and perceived. It's an important issue for us on the project, and I wanted to explain what the rationale behind it is. certainly we understand that the purpose of the ordinance is to not have single-family homes look like multifamily homes. And so the proximity of the door to the front of the house is a very critical thing, and we get that. We've built, as I mentioned, to Cy before the meeting, we've built about 20 buildings in Reading, so we love the neighborhood and we're very sensitive to what we do here. That diagram that you see that has a shaded area represents the visibility of the wall in question where a door or a window might be located. We've set the front door to the addition, the proposed addition, at the back wall of the existing garage. If you look at the photograph of the side view of the house, the far extreme side of the garage, the very low corner of the garage is actually where the front door for the addition would be. So if, in considering, when you look at a two-dimensional elevation of a building, things look like they're on the front of the house, but the reality is that the front door for the addition is set back 67 feet from the sidewalk, and it's way towards the back wall of the garage. It's within a notch that is about 7'4" wide, and it has a covered roof over the entry platform. So, if you were driving in a car from either direction, you'd not even know there was a door there. And if you were walking on 20 feet of sidewalk in that yellow area that you see, you'd see it. But anywhere other than that, you wouldn't even know it was there. And the other elevation that we included in your set, that one there, it's drawing, the color drawing A2.0, shows the difference in the elevation between having a door versus a window in that location. And although the drawing is deceiving, as I said, because it's two-dimensional, it seems like it's out in the same plane. The reality is the way this addition looks and feels isn't changed at all, whether that's a door or a window. The way the addition is designed, it's meant to fit in with the style and character of the house. And whether that's a door or a big window or whatever it is, it isn't going to change the way people perceive the house in any way. The reason we even bring it up at all is because if you look at the floor plans that we propose to you, there's a real benefit to being able to come into the house, straight into the house, and how that works. So it's a real benefit for the owner to have the entry be that way. And that's really, I think, unless something else is raised tonight, that's really the only point where we're asking for consideration from you.
Okay. I'll open it up to the members of the board for questions. Cy, do you want to start?
Yeah, that's one of the issues we always talk about when we have something like this put in, because you don't want to detract from what is the main entrance to the house. Needs to look like a single family, okay? And I frankly don't have a problem with this one, the way you've done it. I think it's clear what the front entrance of the house is. And the only other question I would have, though, is the only, other than the front entrance, there's a rear entrance. Is that over the deck?
That's the rear, you're talking about for the addition itself.
For the addition, yeah.
Yes, there's an exit at the family room where the deck is.
So the deck is the rear exit from the
Yes,
accessory apartment?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
okay. There's no other, it's just those two?
Well, we show a bulkhead
Yeah,
in the back. That
Okay.
gives us our two means from the basement to be able to get,
if you had to, yeah, I
Right.
suppose, yeah.
because it's as being a separate unit, let's say.
Right.
That's how we get our second means out from the basement.
Right. The other thing I was doing, I was playing around with your calculation for how you get to the 1/3 criteria.
Yeah.
I was having a heck of a time getting to the numbers you had.
Okay.
Okay.
The 2282.
Well, frankly, I was coming out with a lower number, the 32.99.
Okay.
So I was trying to figure out.
So either way, it's okay.
Yeah, so I'm not, it's okay, right? But I was wondering how you got it, that's all.
There's actually a finished basement as well in the existing house. And
Oh.
we didn't take that into account in our calculations because some areas in the basement might have a lower head height and might not be defined as habitable space, and we didn't even want to go there.
No.
We took a very conservative approach to how much area we wanted to add. We didn't want to overbuild the site either. We just wanted what we needed, and that's what we did.
Yeah, okay. I have no further questions at this time.
Patrick, any questions? Bruce?
No questions.
And I don't have any questions either, so thank you. Does anybody here want to speak on this matter? Okay, nobody has come forward. Does the board want any further discussion?
No,
Brad, do you have anything on this?
I do not. The only thing, just for the notes, I think there was 2 plans submitted, so if we can just make mention about the front door and the motion.
Okay, is the front door not on one of the plans, or?
Well, originally it was they submitted the door and I said that wouldn't, so they were talking about swapping it out with a window. So just to make motion in the motion,
I see,
just so it's clear.
okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I could do that, I guess. I would move to grant the petitioner Nicole Semenza the special permit under Reading zoning bylaw sections 4.5, 5.3.2, and 5.4.7 to construct a single-story addition with an accessory apartment on the property located at 35 Avalon Road in Wareham. In accordance with the plot plan of land dated February 24th, 2023, prepared and certified by John D. Sullivan III. P.O. Box 2004 from Woburn, and the architectural drawings prepared by Tectonica Architects. Did I get it right?
Close.
17 Larchmont Road in Salem, Mass, dated January 2023, including the application. And what would you like to add with the door?
Just to approve it with the door and that location,
Okay.
basically. I mean, as long as you approve it to the plans.
If it's per the plans, that includes that door anyway. And standard conditions for special permits would apply. I'll just point those out. Petitioner shall submit to the building inspector a certified plot plan of land for the proposed construction and proposed foundation plans prior to the issuance of the foundation permit for the work. Petitioner's final construction plans for the new structure shall be submitted to the building inspector, along with the as-built foundation plans prior to the issuance of a building permit. And the as-built plan showing the completed construction shall be submitted to the building inspector immediately after work is completed and prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Everybody voted in favor, so it is passed. Thank you. Okay, our next matter is case number 2304, 55 Salem Street. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing in the select board's meeting room at Reading Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass, on Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 7 p.m. on the application of 55 Salem Street SPE LLC pursuant to Mass General Laws 40A Section 9 for a special permit under Reading zoning bylaw sections 5.3.2, 7.0, and 7.3 to construct a second-story addition and convert the use from a single-family to a two-family dwelling on a structure with an existing non-conforming side yard setback on the property located at 55 Salem Street, Assessors Map 29, Lot 98, in Reading, Massachusetts. And who's speaking on this? Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
This is.
Sorry, could you just identify?
I'm sorry, yes, I should-
We know you, but identify yourself, please.
I'm an architect in Reading, and I am the architect for this project. So this is a currently single-family home, although it has been used for quite a few years as a two-family, just not a legal two-family. The former owner recently passed, and the new owner, Peter Siebold, purchased it in September 2022, and is asking to convert it from the single-family use to two-family use. We did have Glenn Redmond come and check. Under footnote 1, as you know, it needs 8 habitable rooms that are there from the beginning. This house was built, according to the assessor, in 1817. It's a pretty darn old house, I'll tell you that. It looks good for that. And Glenn did certify that it has the 8 rooms that were necessary. The former owner, with the two-family that they used, they had put a small kitchen on the second floor. There weren't proper separations and there weren't 2 egresses. It was pretty messy. So what we're asking to do is to convert it to a two-family, and in the process, we need to add on at the back enough to be able to get a space for the second means of egress off of the back. So if you can look at it, the existing total square footage for the house, that's 2,440 square feet. We are adding approximately 160 square feet overall because the addition is larger, but we're taking down a low knee-walled storied bedroom at the back in order to make this work. So can you go to the pictures? That would be, I think, most helpful. Or even, the elevations, that would be good too. There you go, that's it. All right, so that's the front. As you know, that's the other front if you keep on going down. And if we look at the side, next slide, I think, that's the back. You'll see that low peak at the back and a shed roof that goes up to it. We're only asking to add on where that peak is and where the lots of windows are on the side. That's a den. So the second story will just go that distance. The existing structure is 1.1 feet from 51, so it's pretty darn close. The Siebold's also own 51 Salem Street, and it is a two-family. We are not going all the way to that 1.1. The way the lot angles, we're probably, I don't have an exact dimension, but we're at least a foot further than 1.1, so we're not asking to go all the way to the edge. The existing front door will remain and be the primary entrance for the second floor unit. That door, and then we're proposing to add a door off of the side where there's the driveway on the other side for a primary entrance to the first floor unit. We need to get those 2 egresses out of there. It just helped to clean up. Thank you. Yeah, if you wanted to go, there you go. That's the new side door for that first unit. It helped to make the layout of that first floor unit a little more uniform and useful. We're also adding, you can see all the structure at the back, which is a 2-story deck and a stair up. That gets us the second means of egress out of the second floor unit and keeps the second means of egress out of the first floor unit where it is. Those are really the only changes that are necessary to make this work. So we're asking for 2 special permits. We're asking for a special permit to convert it to a two-family. And we're also asking for a special permit to extend the knee walls on the opposite side up to a full height so that we can capture the space we need for the second floor unit. Questions?
Questions, anybody? You wanna start? Patrick, you wanna start?
Just, is this the one?
Oh, yeah, I'll do that after the questions.
I don't have any immediate question.
Just one quick question. So currently it is still a single family at the moment. It's being converted into it's being converted into 2 separate 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
Correct.
Okay.
2 units, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath each. 1 on the first floor, 1 on the second floor.
And is there any sort of indication for parking or things along those lines?
There is quite a bit of parking. It's the lot. If you could get the site plan back up, all at the back is you can see the driveway there.
Mhm.
So all of the land at the back they own, that's what is that, 181, let's see, the rear setback is 181 feet. And you can see that extensive driveway in front of you. That's already paved.
So it's already paved going all the way to the back?
No, just around the back, so, just to be clear, it's hard to, yeah, I know, but this is the driveway, and that's the parking in here.
And what is that, some sort of a paved driveway going all the way to the
No,
back?
those are
What
the
is that?
dimension lines.
Oh, those are just lines, okay,
Yeah, we
okay.
put the dimension line into the new porch and the dimension line to the existing corner. So it is confusing on a drawing like that, but those are just dimension lines.
Is there any,
Grass.
is there any plan to actually continue paving towards, to just accommodate any necessary parking?
I don't believe so. There's plenty of parking there for 4 cars, which is required with a
With two bedroom?
2-bedroom, 2-unit
Okay.
structure.
Any other questions?
Didn't the application cover this, the footprint is going to remain?
So the footprint remains the same. We're just going up. Yeah, exactly. So the additional square footage, that 160, is where that porch is with all the windows. That goes up and becomes a second floor. Right now, it's just a single story at that point.
Okay, thanks. Just-
Why are you saying, Nancy, that you need 2 permits as opposed to
Well,
just 1?
One is the conversion under, 5.3.2 to the 1 to a 2-family. And then the second is because we're 1.1 feet from the side, I am extending a knee wall up now within that
Yeah,
non-conforming
but you're not
section.
creating new non-conformity.
Not creating any new, I just need to get a special permit for that. So instead of, I think those knee walls are 4 feet, we're making them 7.6. So it's a minor change, but it still comes under the extension within a non-conforming structure.
I have one more question. Is there is it the decision that Glenn Redmond made that this is a
8-room.
grandfathered,
There is, yep.
is it documented?
I believe it is,
Yeah,
yep.
it was in the.
I know it is.
Checked, yeah.
So it's more.
I don't know if it's in this
more than
application,
verbal.
but
It's
it's-
more than a verbal thing. It is documented.
Absolutely, yes, yes, it is
The
documented.
actual, the town's file is here, I don't know.
That should be in there, because I know.
Not that I don't-
Yeah, I mean, I can even grab it if we need
Huh?
it.
Well, I don't need to look it up. As long as you tell me it's there.
Yep, absolutely, yes.
So I would not operate on a verbal.
No, that's right, exactly. I would
Okay.
not either. So, yeah,
Okay.
Glenn is very good about making sure he puts a note in.
All right, that's fine. I don't need another question.
Does anybody want to speak on this matter?
Yes, I would actually.
Okay.
My name is Greg.
I'm sorry, could you come on up to the podium and I'm just gonna swear you in quickly?
Good evening, everybody. My name is
Do
Greg.
you swear
I
that?
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay,
My name is Greg Hadden. I'm a resident at 24 Osborne Ave. My question for the committee is 55 Salem Street zoned for commercial usage?
It is not.
It is not.
That's,
It's
The
not.
reason I am asking that is because the current owner of the neighboring property of 51 currently is operating a commercial construction company out of that property that cannot be seen from any street of John, 20 John, or 51 Salem Street. It is visible from the end of Osborne Ave, and it's been quite a nuisance since about the last 2 months, I would say. So the zoning of 20 John Street and 52 Salem has been changed. And I'm just curious, I'm not fighting this 2-family. I think that's great for the town. My concern is the future possible illegal commercial activity that could happen when you have 3 abutting properties owned by one single person. That's basically all I wanted to bring to the board tonight.
It's a good question. Brett, is that 51 to 53, is that, what district is that in right now?
So it's all
It
S15.
says 15,
Huh?
It's all
That's
S15, correct, yes.
single
So
family.
there's business being done on an
There is.
S15 residential property.
I have a
Never
great
approved
video
anywhere?
and photographs if anyone would
It was
like
never
to see.
approved.
It's never been approved. How did it happen?
You just kind of
13-foot
all the
high
stuff in there.
fence was put up.
So this has been brought to my attention this week about this.
Yeah. It was brought up in the abutter letter.
Exactly, yeah, so that's, exactly, so there'll be enforcement taken on that property now,
So it's illegal at the moment.
correct?
Yeah, it's not within the purview of this
Of course,
committee,
but the
but,
future actions of the owner is my concern. The question about the parking, that is it's a high floodplain. So my concern is if additional paving was done, how is that gonna impact the convert that is a drainage from Memorial Park to under Salem and drains at Osborne? So those are the concerns my neighbors, quite frankly, have on that activity. So I just wanted to bring that information to the board and take it from there.
Is there a drainage problem on your property now?
The whole Osborne Avenue is underwater right now currently. So my concern is the future construction and any rearranging of the sewers or land could have adverse effects on 10 properties on Osborne Ave, primarily the even numbers. When you drive down that road, but the whole street still floods terribly.
Well, 55 is clearly in an S15 residential, and I suppose you could condition this decision on you made a residential property in total without any other changes.
well, that was actually well, Brett can tell us that. He put it in his review letter.
I am in support of the addition, 100%.
Yeah.
The concerns of extra parking, repaving, or grading the land would be a concern that, the neighbors would have essentially.
Okay. Well, the building commissioner has been taking notes and
Very good.
it's on his radar
Well,
now,
thank
so.
The opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do have a letter to read into the record from another neighbor, but does anybody else want to speak on it? All right, I was asked to read this letter into the record. It is from Ann and Maureen and Michael Coughlin at 28 Osborne Avenue in Reading, dated March 22nd, 23, addressed to the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Building Commissioner, Brett Bennett. And it states, our backyard at 28 Osborne Avenue abuts 3 backyard properties at 55 Salem Street, 51-53 Salem Street, and 20 John Street. All 3 adjoining properties are owned by Peter Seabold, who does not live on premises. The multifamily rental properties at 20 John Street and 51-53 Salem also maintain the backyard storage and operation of a fence company. The fence/construction company operates behind 51-53 Salem in a large red barn area and driveway area, along with a large construction area behind 20 John. Pickup trucks, bobcats, and a few flatbed trucks move in and out of the yards. We can see all of the equipment/movement along with hearing the noise from our home. We would like to voice concern that the backyard at 55 Salem Street not be used as another extension of the fence construction company with even more storage trucks and equipment operating closer to our home. Further, we have concern that 55 Salem is already a large 2-story building and would want the footprint to remain the same. If the building is converted to a 2-family rental, the owner would have to presumably allocate additional parking. We would not want any digging/paving of the backyard at 55 Salem in the event it triggers any additional water issues in our backyard. Thank you. Ms. Coughlin, do you want to add anything to that at this time?
Is that all right? Thank you. Maureen Coughlin.
You can come up and speak if you'd like.
That's all right.
And do you swear to tell the whole truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I certainly do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Greg really said it all. Our concern with the back 55 Salem Street, if it gets paved over, what will happen to, you know, the water, and we just didn't want it to be an extension of the fence company, just more trucks coming in and being closer to our home. So that was pretty much our issue, was really not so much the two-family, but really the backyard. And there's also a drainage pipe that I think runs through like 51, 53, 55, and then through our yard and goes into the brook. So I just don't know if, I just want to make sure you're aware of that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Ann Coughlin, one more question. Ann Coughlin, 28 Osborne.
Oh, okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
55 Salem. There's one big driveway coming around the structure. That thin driveway is going to stay as a thin driveway, won't be increased.
Driveway in the back, like where the back door, that's about like 2 cars per family. So where it's like peak, smaller peak, the shed, I guess you call it.
That's all existing, so
Right, so it's not gonna come farther back than that?
the only thing that comes back is just that little deck in order to be able to get into the upstairs. And that's more to the side than it is towards the
Okay.
back.
Our concern was primarily the backyard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the grassy area currently stays a grassy area.
Very good, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else want to speak on this matter? Okay, does the board have any further questions or comments?
I'm sure you're well aware of it, Nancy, but note 1 under 532 says that no further additions to this structure will ever be allowed.
That's right.
You're aware of that.
Exactly.
So any additions you want to make, they should be in
That's
this
part of this, correct.
package.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Actually, I do have one additional question, just regarding some of the water issues that folks on Osborne Street did mention. Is there any sort of modification to the current plumbing or any of the grading of the property at all
The exterior,
for the exterior?
the deck that's being constructed, that will get constructed, will have pure foundations, so no full foundations are going in, it's really pretty straightforward. In fact, it's probably a prefab or some way of dropping it in, so it's really just pure footings. And then everything else is already on top of the existing building. So there's no displacement of any additional square footage of water that would affect that. That's not what's on the drawings or planned.
And in terms of the actual just plumbing within the building, I'm assuming that everything's has to be done to code, and
Absolutely.
are there currently,
Electrical, plumbing, all of that has to be up to code. You know, it was built in 1817 or
1817,
1817.
obviously.
I'm sure it's probably pretty old. So I know that there'll be upgrades wherever it's necessary. We're moving and adding a kitchen. So that's gonna be a new plumbing. We're moving and adding a new bathroom. Actually, where the new bathroom is on the second floor, it's where the kitchen used to be. That all has to be upgraded, so it will all be to code. Plumbing inspectors will be able to look at that. And then obviously there's an existing sewer line out to the street. I don't know what age that is, but yeah, everything will have to be brought up to current standards.
Okay, anything further from the board, anybody? Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
Sure. I move to grant the petitioners 55 Salem Street SPE LLC special permit under section 7.0, 7.3, 7.3.2 of the zoning bylaws to extend the existing nonconformity, and under section 5.3.2, section 5.4.7, convert the single family to a two-family on a non-conforming lot at 55 Salem Street in Reading, Massachusetts. It is shown on a certified plot plan prepared by Vineyard Engineering and Environmental Services of Medford, MA, dated January 21st, 2023, and certified by James J. Adley.
And could we just adding to that, making note that it is specifically subject to the provisions of footnote 1 in section 5.3.2 of the bylaws.
We can add those.
And special permit, yeah.
Right.
And subject to the special permit following conditions. One, the petitioner shall submit to the building inspector a certified plot plan the proposed construction and proposed foundation plans prior to the issuance of a foundation permit for the work. That the petitioner's final construction plans of the new structure shall be submitted to the building inspector along with the as-built foundation plans prior to the issuance of a building permit. And the as-built plan showing the completed construction shall be submitted to building inspector immediately after the work is completed and prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit.
Is anyone else on the board in favor of putting a special condition that the use of this property is a commercial property for any reason would void the permit? Or,
Don't know if that's
uh,
necessary.
Yeah, it can't be allowed anyways.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, I mean, it could put it in, but it wouldn't be allowed either way, basically.
just for Chrissy's concern.
Okay, so is there a second to the motion?
That doesn't cover what the additional permit, does it?
The special
We were
permit.
looking for two.
Motion
Yeah,
of
we
both
need
of them,
to,
correct?
Yeah.
because we need to do the extension.
Those sections.
Yeah.
I suppose
No,
you could.
you read all the sections. Yeah.
Huh?
One of the sections was for the raising and the other was for the two-family.
Can you put them all under one?
Sure.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Works is fine.
As long as it
They all got
covers
in
both
there.
requests, yeah.
It all works, right?
Right.
I second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any further comment? All right, I'll put it to the vote. All in favor, indicate by voting aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it is unanimous. The permit is issued. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Permits are issued, I should say. Okay, our final matter tonight is 22 Small Lane, case number 2306. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing in the select board's meeting room at Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass. On Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 7 p.m. on the application of Chong Tran and Caroline Gracias pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 9, for a special permit, and/or pursuant to Mass General Laws 40A, Section 10, for a variance or other relief under Reading zoning bylaws, Sections 4.5, 5.3, 6.0, 6.3, 7.0, and 7.2, as may be determined by the zoning board, to construct a two-story addition with a non-conforming side yard setback on the property located at 22 Small Lane, Assessor's Map 40, Lot 155, in Reading, Massachusetts. Could anybody who intends to speak on this matter, is there anybody who intends to speak besides, counsel, could you stand and raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Okay, and who's presenting this?
Good evening. I'm Attorney Josh Latham here tonight on behalf of the applicant. If I may approach the board, I've just written a memo, just for purposes of reference as we proceed this evening.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Light reading.
I'll take, just get it in the file.
Good evening. Again, I'm Attorney Josh Latham here tonight on behalf of Carolyn Gracias and Sean Tran. They're the owners of the property at 22 Small Lane. This is the property, it's map 30, lot 155 on the assessor's maps. It's an interesting property, and certainly I'm always quite reluctant to proceed with a variance application. And yet here we are tonight. I think this is one of those unique circumstances that truly does justify consideration of the variance. I see that we have the plan proposed on the screen tonight. Would you be opposed if I walked over there to use the marker on the whiteboard to show you certain aspects as I proceed this evening? Just usually I'd have a presentation, but I know
No,
it
it's-
wasn't here, so I didn't.
Yeah, it's fine with me. I just don't know. Can that be expanded at all, the size of it?
Sure it can, but
All right, I just don't know how well we're gonna be able to see it, but you can go ahead if you'd like to. But we also all have our own copies,
Great.
so,
Sorry, that's all I can do.
all right, thank you. Whatever you'd like to do.
So good evening. So really what we're here tonight is really alternative forms of relief. The first is an interpretation of our own zoning. And the reason I'm asking for an interpretation is the way that zoning under its strict interpretation would apply to this lot is not something envisioned within the zoning bylaws of this town. So it does require that this board has to make a decision as to how it should apply. Assuming where the board comes on that question, it leads to whether we're looking at a special permit or a variance that we're seeking for relief. So a little bit about the existing conditions of this property. So the lot, it's a 23,540 square foot lot. The lot was created circa 1964 as an A&R lot, endorsed at that time. As you'll see, it's a strangely configured lot in that it's located at the end of a hammerhead dead-end road. This is actually one of the only ones I found in Reading in my informal survey of looking at the GIS and actually trying to go all throughout the town. It's the only one I could find. Obviously, the traditional cul-de-sac is what we would expect to see at the dead end. This hammerhead results in a 90-degree angle cutting into the frontage. It interrupts the frontage right really where the house is at its closest point. And so as you look at that, I just would like you to keep that in mind. Looking at the property in context, to the south is the property at 18 Small Lane. That is a single-family home. To the east, west, and north is wooded wetlands surrounding the property. Across the T on Small Lane is 17 Small Lane. Another home, all three homes are similar character, ranch style, probably all about 1960s, late 1950s vintage. The property itself is non-conforming for one reason, and that is because the existing enclosed porch at the southerly end of the property is located within 12.4 feet to the corner, that interior 90-degree angle corner on Small Lane. If the board determines that frontage runs for the entire end of Small Lane and the property line along the side of Small Lane, resulting in a front yard setback of 20 feet, it begs the question, what happens at the 90-degree corner? Does it end up being a square? Does it end up being a curved line like we would use for a corner lot when we're looking on a lot based on two streets?
Can I just interrupt you for a second, because I need to understand something before I can understand the rest of Recitation. Where does Small Lane end and a driveway begin? Or does one?
Great question.
Okay,
Small Lane is a private way.
okay.
It is only improved within the dotted line that surrounds the words Small Lane on the plan. If you drive to the end of Small Lane, it appears to simply end probably about 10 to 20 feet before the lot line, and then it appears as yard area for all of the houses. The hammerhead is not developed. There is no paving in this hammerhead. It looks like yard area. It begs the question, why did they do a hammerhead? Well, hammerhead dead ends were traditionally done as a way to say, hey, we're gonna create this as a way to provide frontage in the short term with the intent to extend this road a straight line in the future, eliminating the hammer portions of it and creating a straight line. It never happened here. Instead, what we have is this kind of artifact roadway that shows these two hammerhead ends, and the street just stops. As a result, we have this unique lot shape and the unique configuration of the house on the lot. If you look at the home at 18 Small Lane, it is exactly lined up with 22 Small Lane. If you said that that roadway continued on, if I may approach. If this road were to continue on a straight line, as it was likely intended originally, both 18 and 22 would have exactly the same front yard setback. However, because it was never done, yet you'll see the house is situated this way, as though that road was going to be finished. We instead have this unique aspect to creating this very strangely shaped lot with this jog here. The location of the house positionally on the lot, it doesn't make sense because it's facing a street that doesn't exist. That's how the house was originally built, again, on the intent that someday this would probably be a subdivision that continued out into the woods back here. Again, that never happened. There is pending applications or a potential development that might happen down this way. It does not change anything. This is now a fixed set of lot lines with a fixed private way. So what we're facing tonight is these existing unique conditions of the lot. So I've already hit on really two aspects of what zoning variances require. One is unique aspect of the lot. The shape, I think you might agree, is a pretty unusual shape. The location of the house on the lot is also unusual. Again, that it's facing a street that doesn't exist and a kitty corner to the actual frontage. This lot is also crisscrossed with significant wetland buffer zones and flood zone. So you'll see there are dotted lines. Wetlands are actually on the lot to the west. They're abutting the lot to the north, and they're to the lot to the east. All of these have a 100-foot state-mandated wetland buffer zone that requires conservation approval for anything to happen. Within that, the town of Reading has a 35-foot no building zone, and then within that, a 25-foot no disturbance zone. As you apply those to these lots, suddenly what is a conforming size lot starts shrinking rather quickly. The flood zone also covers the area around the house where those same buffer zones are located. Why all this matters at the end of the day? If you want to build an addition on this house, where can you do it? You can't go back. You can't go forward. You end up having really this area right here. Hence, that's why we're proposing to try to build within this. Well, this goes back to the question, what is the encroachment that we're talking about? And it's front yard setback. That's really the question here. So in looking at this, if we say this is frontage and this is frontage, that requires 20 feet. And that 20-foot line is a curve that has been imposed in this lot right here. That would result in approximately this area being an encroachment, about 250 square feet we're talking. The existing enclosed porch is already encroaching in this area. So what we're talking about doing here at the end of the day is requesting a variance to extend this area to build this proposed addition. Well, the second feature that we need to decide on granting a variance is essentially, can this be done without derogating from the zoning bylaws, without harming the public good? Is it unique enough here that it makes sense that the law, strict application of the law, should not apply to these property owners in this circumstance? I would argue that that's correct, that that's actually what's going on. Zoning is meant to protect other property owners so that you can't overburden your land, you're not going to encroach on somebody else's air, light, space, visuals, etc. And that's what setbacks are. What does this setback actually accomplish? If we apply a front yard setback to this interior angle, we're creating a front yard setback here. This lot is already closer to the street than ours. We're actually not creating anything of benefit to any other property owner in the neighborhood by saying we're going to apply a strict application of the zoning front yard setback up to this point. This is also a natural extension of where the house already is. And this is the layout of the home. It is more characteristic of the neighborhood to say that we're going to build this addition consistent where this house is already the same setback along a small lane. This is what people coming to the neighborhood would expect to see. If the alternative was that you had to somehow kitty corner something to fit it within an unusual area, it's just going to be more strange for the neighborhood. It's going to be more detrimental for conservation purposes, wetlands and so forth. This is really the most rational place for us to place this addition. But there's always the question of hardship. What is the hardship in this situation? My clients purchased this property last year. They're a young couple. John grew up in Reading, went to the Reading school system, wanted to move back to town. This is a 1964 ranch home. It needs improvement. The enclosed porch has to come down anyway. It's dilapidated. It actually simply needs to be removed. This addition is consistent with what you have a reasonable expectation as a property owner in a single-family district to build a two-car garage with living space above, This is not mansionizing a property. This isn't overburdening a property. This is a really rational, attractive design that makes sense for the character of this neighborhood. We've also spoken with the abutters. They support this application. They actually think this makes sense, that it's a rational approach here. Our only solution is a variance, however, based on this interpretation of the jog in the front line setback. The last thing that I'll close with, and certainly answer any questions, the board has confronted a similar issue to this just in 2021 and granted a variance in very similar circumstances. Rather than it being a jog on the front yard, on the frontage, it was a jog in the rear of the house. I have a copy of that zoning decision, if it would help you today, and I can approach them.
I might be the only member who was here then.
Oops,
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So I think in quickly perusing this decision, it's really a very, very similar situation, and that we have a jog which created a very strange application of setbacks. The home that was there was already non-conforming with regards to this setback. This board looked at that situation, found that it was unique, determined that it would have been a hardship not to allow an addition to be built in place of and actually closer to the rear yard. And I attached just a GIS image of that lot, so you can have a sense of what the configuration of the lot is compared to what we're proposing. And with that, I close and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, I couldn't remember this one. It's because I wasn't here.
Our names are on it. It was Jamie and Alex and me and Hillary.
I don't remember ever granting it for anything like this.
Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I have to, I'm gonna ask Brett, any comment from you on this weird hammer?
No, I mean, this was, before me, this came in as a pros with the front yard setback as that. I mean, me and Andrew kind of looked over it a little bit and kind of were, I mean, I guess in agreement with that front yard at the curve there. How the hammerhead came about, I honestly have no idea. I mean, wouldn't be allowed through the planning process now, I can say that, but how it got there, I have no idea.
Would what they're proposing to do affect in any way any future plans? I mean, if, I don't know who would come along and want to do this, but if the intention was to extend the road originally, if somebody ever wants to come along and extend the road, would what they are doing?
No, I mean, it's on that property and, like Attorney Latham said, I would assume it would come straight across and
Yeah.
it would have the front yard setback.
Right now,
It would follow through right across the front of their house.
if you look at the plot plan, it's confusing in the sense that the rear of the house seems to be facing a side setback. The front of the house looks like the side of the house.
It's all
You're
discombobulated.
not violating any setbacks with regard to any neighbors. It's that hammerhead. And I don't even know when it was put there. I don't know do you know when the house was built?
1964.
Huh?
1964.
The 64.
Yeah.
And the other houses next to it were probably
Yeah,
similar?
the neighbors
Time?
at 17.
Christina, I swear.
Okay.
I'm at 17 Small Lane. This is my mother Judith. She purchased the house with my late father original buyers of the house. And he did want to extend that, I know, to make it longer way back. But first house was 18, then came 17, then came 22. And I think he died after that.
Okay.
Oh, and also, we want this to happen.
That's helpful information. Yes.
Just, I'm not sure how to handle it. It's really weird. I took a walk down, I walk that area all the time because I live there in that neighborhood. And I looked at that thing and just shook my head. I just said, holy cow, what do you do here?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we've had cases like this before in my time here where we may want to do something, we may agree that it's desirable to do and have difficulty figuring out how to do it. This may be one of those cases.
I've done this board for a long time. I've never seen one like this. You know how long I've been here. You know how many variances we've granted,
I
right?
know.
About that many in that 16 years. So it's a tough one. I don't know whether you could do it a different way. You can't ignore the fact that the hammerhead is there. So how do you deal with it, okay?
I mean, going,
Variance is one thing, whether we could deal with it another way without using a variance to do that. I'm just
but going through the
thinking through
criteria
my head.
for the variance, there are unique circumstances for the lot, right? Agreed? Literal enforcement of the zoning bylaw would cause a hardship.
Agreed.
Desirable relief may be granted without nullifying or derogating from the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and without substantial detriment to the public good. Those are the standards. I
Yeah.
know you're always very hesitant. I
Well,
think
I always have a
this
problem.
board is always very
I
hesitant to
always
do
have a problem
variance.
with the hardship issue, okay? It's, I mean, it's the fact that you're putting a two-car garage in there that's truly creating the variance issue, assuming that the hammerhead is gotta be recognized and honored, okay? So I was thinking, was there another way to get through this thing? But I truly understand the issue, and I have a problem with the hammerhead as well. And I guess it is a legal setback. I don't know, interesting to know what town council would say about this one. Okay, it really would be interesting
Yeah.
to have that input. I certainly don't disagree with what you want to do. Just struggling with that particular issue. Would it be worth the town council input on that hammerhead issue? I don't know.
Well, I think that most what they would determine is that front yard setback applies.
I would think so.
Yeah, and I zoning definitely does not say what happens here, but I think it's reasonably interpreted, and I expected the board would likely find this has to be front yard setback. We don't know what else to do with it. And so that's what triggered the need for us to say, I think our only way to do this is truly through a variance. We definitely went through our paces before I even applied. I'll be honest, I'm very reluctant to go in with a variance because I don't like coming in and failing. And I don't like putting you in a spot of saying, I'm asking you to do something that is really marginal. As we evaluated this, and the more I wrote this memo tonight, looked at the case law, looked at the past decisions of this board, it said to me, this is actually one of those very unique circumstances. And it's unique both because it meets the variance requirements, but also because it doesn't set any precedential value that you need to worry about somebody else coming in and saying, hey, by the way, you gave this to 22 Small Lane and now you're gonna give it to 5 other properties. I do not see any other hammerhead lots in town that are faced with this same conundrum. So the uniqueness part, I think, is pretty clean. Hardship-wise, but for the hammerhead, they could build this all day long.
I don't know why they did put a hammerhead in there. I have no idea why they did that.
I researched it a little bit, just saying, why would hammerheads used? And then I think it was under American zoning.
Cheaper.
It allowed them to do this pending future subdivision down the road. And the intent generally was that they would get rid of the hammer portions of it and create it as a simple straight roadway.
Yeah, I'm sure that was the intent.
It was never done.
Never that.
It's a private way, not necessarily a public way.
Right.
So obviously you don't necessarily have the same fire concerns and the same fire issues that you would on a public way. That would probably necessitate a rounded kind of area rather than just the hammerhead itself.
Right. If those were considerations back
Yeah,
then.
of course.
I mean, to me, it just seems like we're always very hesitant to issue a variance and the standard is very high because of the permanence of the solution. But in this case, and I took a look personally too, it is such a unique situation, and it's also, I mean, it's basically a 3-house, small private road in the middle of a residential area that you wouldn't even go back to unless you were going to one of those 3 houses. So I don't know what impact a permanent small encroachment on the front yard setback is realistically has in that particular situation.
And if it helps, both of the other two homeowners are supportive of the application. In fact, your home faces the exact same issue because of the hammerhead. They're actually closer than we are now. And this is.
The house is around on the other end of the hammerhead,
Yep, just right across.
it's right across from it, yeah.
So in terms of precedential value, the only potential ramifications of allowing a variance in this case is that the owners of number 17 would want to do the same thing at some point.
Potentially. Although they don't,
Not necessarily the current owners, not necessarily the current owners of number 17, but
though they don't have the same wetlands and jurisdictional issues that we face,
That
flood
is-
zones, et cetera.
right, so it would be a different case anyway. So I gotta say, as much as hesitant as we are to give variances, I think he's right that this is the case to do it. Does anybody have any further comments?
Obviously,
Can I add one thing?
Sure. You were previously sworn, right? Could you just state your name though for the record?
John Tran, one of the owners of 22 Small Lane. Just so that you kind of have an understanding of how the frontage looks. This is just all like our front yard. So you have your telephone pole here, you have the fire hydrant there. So from a appearance standpoint, you really wouldn't be able to tell that the lot's been shaped like a hammerhead or the property lines have been drawn like a hammerhead.
If you're standing in the front of your house looking, front being,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the street
it
might have
looks like-
gone,
Yeah,
you're looking at basically a wooded area.
And then for any future consideration, there's actually an access easement here for any potential extension of the road when we purchased it. Someone had the former owners had already sold this piece off for potential development. So really, if that were to happen, the road would run around this curve and then into any buildable land. So yeah, in terms of it's not really, it's just another obstacle in addition to our 35-foot buffer zone, we have this piece of land that actually this piece of land is also we're not allowed to, we also have to follow the setback rules from this line.
anything further from anybody?
It helped to see the photos we submitted with the application. I don't know if you have those.
We do.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I guess just one last thing, so was there any consideration of putting this addition in the front of the house? It seems like there's a good chunk of land there that could be done.
We did look at the front. The front is actually affected both by setback issues for wetlands, because the wetlands actually go all around the property. And so the buffer zone actually kind of circles the houses now. And then as Chong said, that there is an easement here, and that easement actually requires a 20-foot setback from it as well. So when you add that on top of it, it doesn't provide functional space for us to build the addition.
Okay.
Right, 4 out of 5 is cut wood provided. It's all right, yeah.
Is anybody ready to make a motion?
Now you need a special permit too, right?
Oh, that was actually alternative relief.
Well, it's alternative. Okay.
Option to grant a special permit.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Anybody ready to make a motion?
I move to grant the petitioner's request to construct a 31 by 26 two-story addition on the existing non-conforming structure with a variance from sections 6.0 and section 6.3 of the Town of Reading zoning bylaw on the property located at 22 Small Lane in Reading. As it is depicted on a certified plot plan titled "A Plot Plan of Land Number 22 Small Lane, Reading, Massachusetts 01867, prepared by Sullivan Engineering Group LLC, dated February 24th, 2023. Need to put the conditions. In conformance with the architectural drawing made by To Me Design. Dated 2/27/23.
Right,
Second.
motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Right, then did you want to say something?
This is one thing I never actually understood very close. What's the scope of the variance staying with the property forever? That means doesn't mean they can ignore all setbacks forever, right?
It's just that
Just the addition.
variance.
So it can just stay there basically, it's the variance.
Specifically towards the front setback, if I understand.
Right, if somebody came along 50 years from now and knocked down what they're gonna build.
Yeah.
They could rebuild to that exact same,
Okay, same footprint.
with that same variance.
Which I believe takes it to 4 feet 9 inches, or
I-
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's not a variance from everything forever.
That's fine, I'll check.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded. We're ready to vote. All in favor, indicate aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We'll pass it, right?
Yes.
All right, it passes by a vote.
I understand.
It passes by a vote of 4-1.
Thank you very much for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Makes me prouder I got you that one time on the side.
You're lucky we got a new board member today.
Wise to wait until we hit 5.
It's a good thing you showed up today.
Good night.
Thank you.
Take care, we'll see you again. We'll see you again sometime.
Sounds good.
I'm sure.
I already said precedent.
All right. We also have minutes on the agenda. If we want to have everybody taking a look at those.
I will
Here.
have to abstain from any vote on these.
Starting with the minutes from April 21st, 2022.
Before we get to that one.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a suggestion, to feed it back to Andrew, is that the minutes we're looking at are very old.
Yeah.
So old, I don't remember how to correct them. I'd like to recommend to Andrew that the minutes of the meetings should be available for review. Since we're doing them on a monthly meeting, it should be available for review at the next meeting, or at worst, 2 months. Not, you can't go a year. That's not right. I don't remember how to fix these things.
Yeah.
In some cases, and I'm sure some of you have the same problem, but anyway, let's go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I recognize that, I mean, obviously somebody has to write these up based on the notes of the meeting, and that obviously takes a lot of time by somebody who also has a lot of other jobs, so that's the problem. But yeah, I
Okay.
would second that, just, please try harder to get them sooner. But that being said, are there any corrections or comments on the April 21st, 2022?
Where do I start?
Can I start with my comment on everyone, which is, I'm not.
Andrew
President.
wasn't even
Yeah.
listed in the members present, but he's all over the place and voted.
Yeah,
Okay.
I, 2 out of 3.
You were here.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
so Andrew was there.
Andrew needs to get up with the members
That happens
present.
pretty much every basis.
Which one are you on? Sorry.
April 21st, 2022. First of all, Andrew should be listed as present.
Can I steal
I
your
don't have a
copy?
I have it on my phone.
And then it shows that first 2206 was approved by 0. Down below it says vote was 400. So were there 5 votes? Or
No, there were 5, he just forgot to list.
Okay, so you gotta identify who that 5th person was, if you can remember.
Well, it was Hillary.
Okay. She has to be added to the vote tally.
But I have to wonder, hold on, is she mentioned anywhere in the minutes otherwise than that, like making motions or anything? Maybe she wasn't there.
She's listed as present.
I know she is,
Yeah, I
but she's not mentioned anywhere else.
Virtually? One time,
She,
wasn't it like a hard?
maybe Andrew got mixed up and listed her instead of Andrew under present.
My sort of assumption is that they copy and paste the present, because I've been not listed there every single time,
Yeah.
so.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
why.
probably true then. Because also she would have been the chair then, so
That's correct.
you'd think there would be some reference to her if she was there.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like,
So maybe that's something
Alex
we should ask
was
Andrew to
checking this
double check his
meeting,
notes on.
She wasn't the 5th voter. It would have to have been,
Well, maybe there were only 4 because
Yeah,
every vote
Ryan
that's
Ford.
mentioned here is 4 to 0. I think there were only 4. I
Well,
think
Sai opened the meeting, so I would assume that she wouldn't, oh no, it's a different meeting, sorry. It's-
yeah, it looks like this one,
Who opened the meeting?
it looks like Alex did most of the reading, or like opening the.
Right.
It's all that kind of
And
stuff.
he was co-chair.
Okay, that'd be mine.
I think Hillary wasn't there.
So the vote should be 4 out of 4.
The votes are all correct in saying 4 to 0. The problem is that Hillary is mentioned as being present, and we're pretty sure that she wasn't.
was Ryan Bork
But-
present?
I don't remember.
He would have
off
been the
top of
5th
my
voter.
head. He would,
He didn't make many.
yeah, he didn't make many meetings. So I think just the question is to have Andrew double check his notes about presence and fix that. I do believe that there were 4 of us here. Yes. Anything else on these minutes?
Yeah, one of the things I would suggest is that we listed some of the people here by their first name only. And others by both their first and last names. I think everybody in the minutes should be written up by the first and last name. Like Sabrina, it should be her full name, Sabrina Seligman said. And just do that
I
with
think
all.
what he usually does is the first time he mentions them, he lists the full name,
Yeah, it should be full
and then
name,
after that, his first name only,
full name for all of them,
every time.
everywhere. All minutes.
Okay.
That'd be my suggestion. Otherwise, it makes it sound very personal. We're all good friends and buddies and,
Well,
and the other suggestion I would also make is, my name is spelled right somewhere and my name is spelled wrong. So.
I have a feeling you're used to that. So am I, the way I spell my first name.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other issues regarding the substance of these minutes?
For me.
Okay,
You know, I don't know, what's this Alex Grassberger? I don't know. If that's supposed to be me or
maybe,
that's like in the second to last.
that's a good point.
Somebody alias is on here.
And actually, at the very bottom regarding the minutes, Cindy is spelled with 2 E's.
Yeah.
Cindy.
Oh yeah, I got a CINDY.
Okay, so we don't have substantive issues with these set of minutes, but we have a lot of form issues. Okay. The next set is the May 19th, 2022. Any comments on those?
If I go down to page 2, in the bold type down there, Cindy Hartman made a motion to make a finding, case blah, blah, blah. Then it lists my name with no, did I second it?
Where are you? On page, oh, I see it.
Bold type
Yeah,
on
made a
page
motion to
2.
make a finding.
Was I the one who seconded it?
Yeah, it should say seconded there.
Okay, all right.
Seconded,
remember.
and it was approved 5-0.
Okay. Were you here for that you were here at that meeting too?
Yeah.
And it appears that they did the same thing in the next one as well.
Yeah.
Under 10 grand. For Andrews.
Oh, for none, yeah. Okay.
Was Park Avenue with an E?
I don't think so.
Is it Park with no E or Park with an E? On the bottom.
No, it should be an E.
No E. No E, okay.
I don't know. It's right here too. Copy and paste.
Me on Park Avenue. Else on these? Okay, and then the September 7th,
Third page now?
2022.
I think we're on the next set of minutes. I think we're on the next set of minutes.
Wait, are we done with
Well, I'm
May?
done with those.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought
On the third page,
of the May minutes, okay.
yeah, there's a name on the, just before you get the Patrick's bold type motion there, it's Stefan. Who is Stefan? I don't see any Stefan
be an
listed
email.
anywhere.
Or
I
butter.
don't see it listed.
Yeah, either he did not,
Present or-
either he didn't give his last name or he didn't catch it.
I don't see him listed anywhere in the present list, front page. Whoever he is.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Somebody made a motion to adjourn. We don't know who.
The problem with these old
Yeah, we don't
items,
know
you
who
know, that's
seconded
why
it
I think
either.
it should be all
Yeah.
available for review. Next month's meeting or worse, we're at March,
Yeah.
2 months.
No, I would agree. It doesn't really matter in the overall scheme of things who we
Anyway.
to adjourn, but no,
Let's
I
do
agree.
it.
It needs to be,
If somebody made a motion to adjourn, somebody said.
yes.
Gee.
All right, now September.
They got my attendance right.
Huh?
They got my attendance right on that.
Good. They're just gonna spell my name right.
And this one? The only thing is, at the end, he wrote Patrick Orsai seconded the motion.
Yeah,
He didn't know which.
do you remember, Patrick?
We can put me.
Pick
Probably
one.
it was me.
Do you guys want to have these corrections, since Andrew's not here, do you want to have these corrections made and then approve them, or?
There are quite a few. That might be a good thing to do, and do it at the next meeting.
Okay,
Just send it back with the corrections you suggested. And we got the final copy and sign it off.
okay,
Makes sense.
all All right, so we will not approve these minutes today, but we'll let Andrew know about the amendments and do it next time. All right, is there any further business? Do I have a motion to adjourn? No.
So moved.
Any second?
Bye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Congratulations on your first motion.